this meeting of Shepreth Parish Council. Thank you. Before we start, we are being filmed and recorded this evening, so just to let you know that, and it may well be on social media as well. Right, we're here this evening to discuss planning application for Fillcup Field on Melbourne Road in Shepreth. What will happen is we'll open the meeting for the councillors, where any disclosures of interest will be disclosed or not. Then we will close the meeting and listen to the public for 20 minutes or so. So I'd like everybody who would like to say something at the beginning, as the last meeting, I'll put your hand up and I will go across the room from this side to that side so we don't miss anybody out. We will then close that aspect of the meeting and open it up to councillors. We will then have the discussion and we will go to a vote on the planning application. Okay, so any disclosure of interest from any of the councillors? Oh, apologies for absence. Do we have any?
No, apologies.
We have no apologies for absence. Any disclosure of interest from the councillors? No? Right. Close the council aspect of the meeting. Yes, sure. So we'll go from this side to that side, as I say, and if you could, out of respect for everybody else in the room, only stick to the planning itself and to a certain extent the amendments since the last meeting, please. So, okay, on the left-hand side, Teresa.
Teresa Smith, former parish councillor, and I think everybody in this room knows exactly why I resigned on this. This anaerobic digestion plant is not going to serve our village and it's not going to provide local jobs. I'd also like to get something clarified, because we've been all told in the parish newsletter as well as at previous meetings that all applications classified as major go to the planning committee at South Cambs automatically. Well, I've got an email here from June Padden that actually says they don't automatically go to the District Council Planning Committee. The criteria for going to Planning Committee are: the Parish Council recommends refusal where the recommendation is for approval, or a member of the District Planning Committee requests it for material planning reasons, and this is agreed by the Chair of the Committee and the Head of Development Control. As the reconsultation exercise is still underway, June Padden is not in a position to make a recommendation yet. Should the application go to the Planning Committee, members of the public can attend, and there can be a verbal representation at the committee, one speaker in favour, one against, and one on behalf of the Parish Council. So I hope that's useful to everybody here. And furthermore, I think our Parish Council, if they are going to vote this through, they need to give us good substantial reasons as to why they think this is a very good development for our small village with narrow roads in a rural location, and there's no promise of local jobs, despite what the developer says. The jobs that are advertised on the internet already are specialised jobs, sir. There's nothing here that we can do.
Okay. Anybody else? Mrs. Nichols?
I'd like to make the parishioners of Shepreth aware that the digester mentioned at the last meeting, which is at Green Tie, not much Haddam as stated, does have its problems. We were told by the owner when we went there that their digester is not running 24/7. He produces tomatoes for Waitrose, so he's only running about 6 hours a day. He said, make no mistake, I've had lots of problems with odour. The filters need changing constantly and are very expensive, so if anyone tries to cut corners, there is a major problem. The AD plants have been rejected at Wimbledon, also Brickenden in Hertfordshire. The AD plant at Chittering, Cambridgeshire, has been fined £20,200 for grossly polluting 2 kilometres of the River Cam with poisonous silage. The flagship plant at Cannock still cannot contain the vile stench, not my words, the local press report. There have been 2 major incidents at the Shropshire University plant. Sadly, this planning application has been badly handled. If it was not for the diligence of people getting this out in the public domain previously, this would have been passed and no one would have been aware. Our parish council should have the interest and well-being of the villagers and not their own agenda. Once again, small notices on the village board are not enough to raise awareness, and we were not given enough time to leaflet everyone. The winding roads around Shepreth and Mildred are totally unsuitable for heavy traffic, and the position of this AD plant is unsuitable between two villages.
Anybody else inside?
Still like to second that because I still can't see the reason why we have to have a development like this in a village. There have been suggestions that there are plenty of other sites around that are bigger and that will allow site owners, because it's so congested. The plans absolutely look as though it's just crammed in. And there's not any room for anything else. It's right up to the boundaries. As I said, pollution hasn't really been sort of decided whether it's going to be polluted or not. We've had a sort of, I think, a note from English Nature saying, oh, it's no problem. But, you know, I wonder if we haven't had a really deep look at what the environment is like roundabout, because we've got beautiful chalk streams that are very, very pure in the area, but we can't afford to have them polluted at all. I know everybody's jumping on the transportation side, and quite frankly, that is a big problem for a small village of our size, and also the other villages in turn. I believe Wadden and Malbeth have expressed their concern about big lorries going through. They already have Eternit going through at Wadden, and they just don't want any more. And I believe the new route on the amendment is coming through Wadden. And they haven't had a chance to have a say about it. And I believe the parish council there would like to make a comment on that. But it's just the smell aspect. I mean, that hasn't been readjusted. There's no amendment in the latest amendments about how the smell's going, and that seems to be a major problem. I'm one of the nearest houses to this, and I have just not long moved into the area. And I'm really concerned about how this is going to affect my house property, the prices of it, and also my enjoyment of my garden, which overlooks the site itself. The actual sound that's going to come out of there as well, that's been sort of weighed, oh, it's only so decibels. But when you are actually in a condition where it's fairly quiet, I mean, there is no sound damage in the night. And this plant is going to be running 24/7, and the biomass boiler is going to be running. There's going to be a hum all the time, and that may not be very loud, but if it's perfectly quiet out there and you're trying to sleep with the windows open, it's going to be familiar. And I think that Nethy should really be looking for a better site for this thing, rather than in a village where the majority of the people, we know that we've had over 100 complaints about this or refusals. There's over 100 people that do not want this. I hope the parish council and also the planners will take note of the parishioners' views and will actually refuse this planning permission. Thank you.
Anybody else on this side? No? On this side.
Hi, a lot of people know, my name's Tom. I've actually put the application in. So I came and gave a speech in January, and since then there's been obviously a 3 or 4 month delay, and that's really been down to a highway survey that's been done. The plan has been sort of tweaked a little bit, the log cabin's gone, the 1 or 2 other minor changes, but in essence it remains as it was when we applied for it. Just picking up 1 or 2 comments that people have made. In terms of the local jobs being advertised, there will be between 10 and 15 jobs. We haven't advertised any at all. We've got so many hoops, not least planning, to get over. I hope there will be jobs for local people, and none have been advertised at all.
They're actually on the internet.
We've seen them on the internet.
There hasn't, I promise you, there hasn't.
It says
On Reed.
Well, lots of stuff get on the internet with no authority. There's been
well, I
no.
know somebody who applied for it.
No one's applied for any job. I've had 1 email from someone about
I told you with him.
9 weeks ago. from Royston. So there's nothing being advertised. As I have said the whole way along, and this is a sort of 5th or 6th time I've tried to make this point, the size is very, very small. Someone mentioned the AD plant at Chittering. They're taking 80,000 tonnes, I read in a local paper, of maize a year. We're taking 2,000 approximately. Really small stuff. The CHP is 150 kilowatts. That's about 3 times the size of a typical barn array. It's minuscule. This is what I keep trying to emphasise. We're generating our own power on site to grow our own crops. And the reason we want to do that is because, as people know, growing horticultural costs, 30% of the cost is the energy, and so we want to have our cheap energy. I'm sorry to hear that people think it's been badly handled, because I came up here and, on the Parish Council on the 8th of January when I didn't have to do it. I came and gave a talk to the local residents, Christine knows. I came and gave a talk to Meldred Parish Council. I've come back here. I mean, I really have tried quite hard to do it properly. In terms of Christine's point about there are other sites that would be better, I can tell you, having spent 25 years in property development, everyone always thinks that, and it's very difficult in this country to get any site. There's no such thing as a perfect site. We need 3-phase electricity, we need water, we need a sustainable location. There's, without running through it, about 15 boxes to tick, and it's not easy finding a site like this. So it's, for us, it's a very, very good site. And in terms of the traffic, which, as I said, has been a delay, the traffic survey has come back, and probably most people know that about 1,700 vehicles are going past the site every weekday, and about 120 HGVs going through the site. We're going to add so little to that, no one's going to notice. We're going to add, in terms of vehicles, it's going to be about 2%. In terms of HGVs, it's going to be about 6-7%. It's de minimis. It's not going to change anything. A lot of people, a lot of cars are using that road anyway. Traffic is not a reason not to want this development.
Can I ask a question, please? Why did you choose the anaerobic digestion method rather than solar panels or a wind turbine? Because neither of those methods have any effect on the environment and they're using natural resources.
Well, we want 150 kilowatts. We're doing it in the greenhouse, and what's virtually unique about anaerobic digestion is it produces heat and power. And so in a greenhouse you need power, especially if you're growing on 2 levels like we plan to do, and you need heat. So there's virtually no renewable energy that does both of those. In any case, with solar and with wind, as everyone knows, is that it's unpredictable, and so you don't get it when you want it. With solar, you only get it when the sun's out, and of course we need our lights when the suns aren't out. And with wind, I mean, if I was proposing a 50-metre wind turbine, there'd be even more objections. So,
I think I'd have to disagree with you on that, sir, because I've got a friend who manages a small holding, and he has a wind turbine and solar panels, and he manages to make enough electricity for his own small holding and home, and sell the rest to the national grid.
well, anyway, that's a sort of subjective thing. There's no energy generation that is ever popular, although we all want electricity.
Can I ask a question as well? My name is John Spenceley. I'm from Passenborn Parish Council. I'm thinking, what on earth am I doing here? Well, we actually called Chestnut Lane, and we have a lot of problems with traffic down there. And I'm here really to try and discover if there is an impact as far as Chestnut Lane is concerned, because it's an accident black spot. Well, my question to Tom is really, how many HGVs a day, how many journeys, both in and out, would you expect?
So sort of 3.5 a day, 7 journeys in and out would be our average over the day. There'd be some days would be more than that because we'd be taking feedstock in and we'd be taking digestate out, but there'll be some days where there'll be virtually none.
So we're talking 7 vehicle movements per day on average?
HGV.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Okay.
How are you washing the vehicles?
Well,
Are you having the borehole or not?
yes.
You are using the borehole?
Yes.
They said that the amendments and the extraction was no longer going to be done in the amendment.
The situation with borehole is that anyone can take 20 cubic metres out of the ground at any time. We're not going beyond that. It doesn't need a. I'm not even convinced it needs planning permission. It's just a right that UK citizens have. So we haven't applied to go beyond that.
Anybody else on this side? Mrs. Thomas?
Good evening. As most people know, I own the piece of ground what we're in question. I have still got, with the estate agent, 5 firm offers on the ground, which I never accepted because I thought I was doing the right thing for the village. And now I wish I'd have took one of them, and that would have saved all this, but it would have put a big rod in your back because they're travellers and they still want to buy it.
You can't threaten us with that.
I'm not threatening you, I'm telling you what I'm going to do.
Well, go
If
ahead
Tommy
and do
doesn't
it.
do it, I'm selling it to him. Because I want the
I find
money.
that racially offensive that you are using
Thank you very much. I don't live in
Teresa, can you just let him speak?
No, I'm not glad to have it.
offensive.
I've had it for sale for 3 years, and after 3 weeks I could have sold it to a traveller for more than he offered me, right?
Well, he's not going to be very happy, is he?
I'm not going to sell it if he gets planning, am
It's
I?
absolutely ridiculous.
It's offensive.
And if he doesn't get the planning, I'm selling it. And that's it.
Thank you very much. I find it racially offensive.
Right. Anybody else on this side?
The travellers won't get that.
They
Please,
don't need it, they'll move on the next day.
Well, I'm not done yet then.
stop this now, please.
Is there anybody else on this side?
They've got to come up with planning reasons for rejecting this application. Mentioning the value of your house is not a planning reason.
Well, we know that.
The traffic at 7 heavy vehicles a day is not a tremendous amount of traffic. My problem as a councillor is that we're going to have this development, we're going to have the Barrington development, we've got developments at South Cambs, the other side near the M11. There is just going to be so much traffic, and I don't think anything has been done as far as traffic lights or easing that problem. But to just take one development and say you can't have it because it's
Well, they
not
stopped Foxton, they stopped Foxton
Sorry, what?
having their 90 houses.
With respect, every development needs to justify its contribution to traffic in its own right, because if you don't justify each individual development, they, as you've already said, add up, wholesale, and you get a traffic system that doesn't work. So every development
well, you
needs to
see
be
that in our
assessed on that.
cities. You're quite right.
So if
But where would you
developments
draw
like
the
this-
line?
if
Which
developments
say-
like this go ahead, there should be a 106 agreement in place, at the very least, that they can contribute to the traffic management that needs to be done because of their impact. That may be a portion of the overall works.
I think I would agree that the developer
Something
should
needs to be done.
contribute to the problems that they all bring about. Even be small bits at a time, but it all varies. But the end result is a traffic jam.
But why is our parish council being asked to contribute £1,000 to change the speed limit together with Mildred?
I didn't
At the
know
last
that.
parish.
I didn't know that.
Something different.
It isn't different because it's going to be right.
Anybody else needs to speak, would like to speak on this side? No? Would Susan or Philippa like to?
Right, to add anything.
Or add anything?
Well, yes, as you know, I'm your district councillor. I'm here partly to take the temperature tonight. I don't know how many of you were here before. We're slightly thinner on the ground tonight. I think that's fair to
Because
say.
nobody knows.
Yes.
Because nobody knew.
Silly little
Nobody
notice
is
like
here.
that on the board.
Yes, Douglas has reminded you about material planning considerations, and as I said to you before, if you do want to write in, you do have to keep to material planning considerations. Apart from the legislation, the ones that are relevant are, well, I'll list them whether or not you think they're relevant. Loss of sunlight, overshadowing or loss of outlook, overlooking and loss of privacy, highway issues, noise or disturbance, smells and fumes, physical infrastructure, i.e. public drainage or water systems, social facilities, hazardous materials, loss or effect on trees, adverse impact on nature conservation, effect on listed buildings, I don't think is relevant, and conservation areas, incompatible or unacceptable uses, local financial considerations offered as a contribution or grant, layout and density of building design, inadequate or inappropriate landscaping. What is not material, relevant here, are loss of property value or loss of view. Okay. This document, if you want to see it, it's if you put in a search for material planning considerations, it's the first one that came up. All right. I probably should declare an interest because I live now. Now that we know what the routing is going to be, I live on Fenny Lane. I grew up on a farm, so I'm not at all phased. I'm speaking in my personal capacity. I'm not at all worried about the vehicle movements past my house. So that's just me with my own hat on. Sometimes we have 20 HGVs coming in and out of the farm a day. You know, it's not all the time, but it's regular, heavy traffic. I don't know how Shepreth Parish Council is going to react to the known routing. That meeting is coming up at the beginning of June, the first Thursday in June. They, like Shepreth, did ask for further information about traffic. I'm sorry about believing, and I was told this by a planning officer, so forgive me, believing that the major application, because it's a major application, automatically comes before the planning committee. So I am here to take the temperature. Last time Susie and I had sight of we probably had sight of about 80 emails, didn't we, of the 106 that were received in the first consultation period. I have received 2 so far. And unless I know how you all feel, I don't feel I can represent you. 2 so on the revised application.
So the minimal amendments, the first 100 odd objections, complaints that have gone to the planning don't count?
No, I'm not saying that. I was reading them again tonight. A lot of them were very focused on the belief that the traffic would come through Shepreth. So I need to speak to the planning officer to find out whether and what stands from those objections, because some of them are no longer relevant, if you see what I mean. I don't know if any of you have yet been contacted who did write in person, but I was given to understand that you would all be contacted personally if you had written in and given adequate contact details.
Got one today.
You did?
Yeah,
okay.
but it says 14 days from the 22nd, but I think Martin got his email and it said 14 days from the 15th.
Well, Maria and I were talking about that today, and it isn't, I have to say, I don't think Shepreth Parish Council received the papers on the same day as you did.
No,
so it's because the planning officer in question only works from Wednesday to Friday, I don't know the answer about when the actual notice, the actual
so we don't know what the
consultation
deadline is then now?
Well, I mean, you would be prudent to write in as soon as possible if you're going to.
I've been told it's the 29th of this month, the deadline.
No, I think Maria knows what
Yeah,
the deadline is.
the deadline.
I had that directly from the planning officer.
Well, you don't need
29th.
to ask him.
Yeah, but then we were sent a second package of paperwork because ours went astray. So then we go from the date of the 19th. Because I was waiting for the paperwork from the 15th, I organised the meeting straight away. So I was going in my head to the 29th. It's actually going to be a few days after that now.
So why are we all being given conflicting advice then?
Because it goes from the date of the letter.
Yeah.
Some people don't receive notification from where they wrote
Only got
written
ours
letters.
today.
You know, they haven't even received
Well, I
any
can't,
letter at all.
I don't work for South Banks, so
It might be worthwhile you feeding it back perhaps.
yeah, all right.
When's the Mildred meeting? Do they have time to respond?
Yes, they will have time. It's the whatever it is, the 4th of June. So.
Are you sure? They're not the date they just decided
Well, that is when they called it. That's when they called it.
So they might not have time to respond.
Well, last time you were given a stay of execution,
Yes,
weren't you?
Yeah, often the parish clerk may have asked for an extension for their comments. I'm sure they wouldn't have planned a meeting if they knew they couldn't comment.
No.
So I'm sure that you can request an extension in parish council.
Hello. But yes, that was one other point. I don't believe the traffic routing is coming through Bassingbourne at all, if that was your concern.
Well, the question is, if it's going to Mildred, since it's either going to go across the railway bridge, go through one, or go down the Chestnut Lane to 1198. It's got to, you know, those are three options, I believe.
Can I just say we have put a proposed HGV route. I don't know the names of all the local roads, but there are two routes. One, I don't think either of them go through Wadden. So coming,
That's the one. That's the problem.
yeah, it goes through Kneesworth.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
And then there's another route, but not past the post office.
Now, my serious concern is that Bassingbourne Companies or parish has not been consulted on this at all. All right. In fact, we have an accident black spot on that road. I walked out of my house to find somebody who's run off the road by an HGV. This evening, we have about we have accidents on the 1198 that one or two accidents, sorry, one accident every 1 or 2 months.
Can I just say in answer to that? In our transport assessment, there's various analysis of the accidents. And the accident on that, and I have not done transport analysis myself, but on that particular junction there were 3 accidents. I don't know when they were all done, and none of them compared to this were HGV. So, you know, we've paid for a. I mean, the reason I'm not.
That's exactly.
Well, anyway, the reason we've had to do the transport assessment is to check it thoroughly. The speeds are coming okay. The quantity of highway vehicles are coming okay. In terms of the accident, that's what I have to defer to local knowledge. Although my transport consultant was close by, he's done it. You know, it's all.
2014, there were 5 accidents on that junction. 2013, there were 10. The year before, there were 12. The stats that exist in the various district councils and county councils was wrong. Because I get an FOI request to the police, and those are police figures. All right, so I would be concerned if your traffic analysis was so wrong.
Well, as I say, I
And also, even that those are serious accidents, the number of people risking their lives walking up Chestnut Lane, which is a narrow road, and we have vehicles from the wireless station, we have vehicles from Eternit, all of whom are subject to a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit up to the roundabout. This is a severely dangerous track, and the way in which people quite happily say, oh, we send it down Chestnut Lane, without actually doing the research, and we can see that the research is faulty, is very worrying from a planning position.
Have you had any contact with the planning officer? Because I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to represent your views like everybody else.
I'm playing catch-up in terms of discovering what's going on. I had a meeting with the Ginger at Eternit a couple of weeks ago when we talked about their traffic movements, because there's a discussion about whether it goes through Meldrith, Wadden, or down the Rat Run to the 1198. We're now in the process of agreeing a circular route, including Chestnut Lane and Wadden. And I'm trying to push for a wider discussion across the parish councils for all these initiatives, because it seems to me that there's only a very local analysis when it comes to the levels of traffic. And the fact that there is such an error in public records in terms of traffic accidents in 1198, the people who live at the bottom of Chestnut Lane in 1198 are subject daily to arguments on that particular junction. Last September, and this is atypical, a Land Rover pulled out onto the roundabout from Chestnut Lane and got promptly hit by a police car. So we know that reckless driving, because just something you whiz through, but it's a danger to cyclists, it's a danger to... Okay. So I just really wanted to say, I'd like to, Bassingbourn Police would like to actually be involved in the decision.
I think you must contact the planning officer and make those views.
I would be happy to talk to you afterwards to get details, because I'm an officer.
Thank you.
What guarantee is there that it won't go through Frog End anyway? Is it going to be... Are your lorries going to be stopped from coming through Frog End and Falmere Road?
They're not going to come through Shepreth.
Sat-navs take the shortest road.
Sorry?
Sat-navs take the shortest road.
Well, I suppose the road, I think what we're really talking about is our own lorry. We're talking about all HGVs, but our own lorry will not be going through Shepreth. And of course, the irony is that 4 months ago I stood there and everyone was like, can't come through Shepreth, can't come through Shepreth. Come back here 4 months later, can't go that way, can't go this way.
Because all the roads are...
I mean, no one wants to... We're talking about really so few lorry trips. We've got 120 a day going past the site every weekday. We're having 7. And it's nothing.
It's a public safety matter.
No, but it's so de minimis. We've got 1,700 vehicles going past every day.
Not down Chestnut Lane, that is...
I think the transport has been well covered in the sense. It's obviously an issue in lots of processes. Thank you. Susan, can I ask if you'd like to speak?
I know you said you discussed transport, but my only role really is transport because I represent the county. So I will have an interest to declare as well because I live in North End Meldrum, which is the route that traffic would go by, so I'll just declare that. Just sort of thinking broadly, people have mentioned cumulative impact, and as you know, I'm sure there have been planning applications for 220 houses in Barrington, which was actually approved today. 95 houses in Foxton, which was turned down, but I understand from Philippa that because of the state of the local plan, there's every opportunity for the applicant to appeal that. And then there's the 199 houses in Melbourne on top of 100 houses. And I was curious about, for Shepreth's sake, about the Frog End Junction. And so I had this a few months ago, so I had a conversation with the County Council traffic modelling officers, and they said that the cumulative effect of 500, and that's only homes, not numbers of vehicles, wasn't actually significant in terms of traffic modelling on the A10. Which surprised me, but everybody made similar arguments to what some of you have said tonight, that each individual application has to be seen in the wider...
You have to understand how traffic modelling works through. Saying a statement like that doesn't necessarily mean an impact on the local, but it's
right.
the same as the A10.
I was only going to say then that what we did was to try and understand what the movements at a particular junction, where those were causing problems. And so at Frog End, so I don't mean to go off on too much of a tangent, except that I understand what you're saying about cumulative impact. So at Frog End, we've understood that what the cause of accidents is, and actually trying to build in a condition for the Melbourne application to address the Frog End junction, even though it's in Shepreth. So hopefully that will happen. But I think being realistic and the responsible thing for as councillors, we have to think about all eventualities, and if the application will be judged on planning policy. If it is passed, then I think if it's recommended for approval, then it's important to think about what remedial measures the local community would advocate to deal with problems that we've identified. And personally, for me, it's not the volume, but it's the movement of vehicles in and out of that site makes me concerned for pedestrians and cyclists along that route. And I have an interest because Tommy passed me on my bike a little while ago. And from Meldreth, that is a very, very popular route to walk to the station. Shepreth Station is closer to lots of us in Meldreth than Meldreth Station is. And I did actually say in the first version of this application, I immediately responded that I would like to see a path if the application were to be passed. I'd like to see a safe walking route between Meldreth and Shepreth, because there are so many people walking in the dark, walking dogs or young people walking home from the train, and I think that is, for me, that remains a point of concern. But it's really about that specific lane. So I think, I would hope that the Parish Council, and you do have the opportunity to make comments on your response, not just yes or no, but you're allowed to say, these are the measures that we'd like to see as conditions. And Barrington Parish Council, in anticipation of the 220 houses, even though they, as a council, recommended refusal, they had an exhaustive list of conditions that they have worked up so that when the planning application reached the planning committee, this was quite a fully formed vision of what happens if the application is passed. Because you have to look beyond that point, I think. So that's just what I wanted to say. I think that's it.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, thank you all very much for that. I appreciate your comments. So we're now going to close the meeting to the public and open the Parish Council meeting. So first of all, I'd like us to discuss comments based on the public, really, or any other comments you've got.
Well, I've got a couple of comments. Highway issues. I've got the figures here for lorries, cars, push bikes, because I'm bored like that. I sit and read things. And there's 4 HGVs going along that road here. Wait, sorry, 4. But in between the hours, which everybody's going to school, which is 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, there's 260 cars. Between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, there's 205. And the busiest time of day, there's 380. That's without the HGVs. It's only 4 HGVs, 6 HGVs and 4 HGVs. So the transport to me is a no-no. Noise and disruption, which is a heading. It's got to be noisy all the time. Smog and fumes, you can smell it, you can see it. Physical infrastructure, the lay-by right outside, which the plan put in their entrance in, which I said before, but it's not a lay-by, it belongs to the field, which the lad on the left-hand side rents from the Diocese of Eve. And he made that lay-by, so he carries a lorry in there, his tractor in there. And as for nature conservation, I'm not a Greenpeace, I don't hug trees, but there's a badger set within 30 metres of the back of the fence. And right opposite, there is a funny place that they're going to draw water from. So in my eyes, I'm voting against it, because that's what the village wants, they don't want it, so I'm voting against it.
Excuse me, I'm not going to say all that much. As you probably all know, that I've lived in Shepreth for 82 years and a few weeks, and I've been on the Parish Council for 33 years. And this is the most difficult decision I have had to make, or had to decide on, because I think the last thing I want, I love Shepreth, and everybody knows that, and I don't want to see it altered, if possible. I know there's got to be alterations and there's got to be things happen and you've got to move on, but the last thing I want is a lot of carry on in this village which we don't really need, or we can do without. So that's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to abstain, because I really can't. I've been worried about this for about a week. You ask my missus. And I really can't make my mind up. So that's my view.
I apologise to everybody. When I get frustrated, I'm sick. I apologise.
Done.
I'm very worried about the cumulative effect of the traffic, but I don't know how you deal with it. Because the council, I don't think, has got a big view. I mean, I think, for various reasons, I mean, with this particular application, I don't think it's going to affect Frog End, but I'm very much in favour of traffic lights there, because if we get all the development that we say we're going to get, you're not going to be able to get out of the A10 from a selfish point of view. But where do you draw the line? I mean, I can hear what the applicant says, that it's only 7 a day, but Jimmy tells me that it's 4 a day at the moment. Well, that doesn't sound a minimum increase, it's sort of almost double. So I don't know which facts are correct. I haven't stood there today watching the HGV. So
it's on the revised plans as a vehicle, if you go through the vehicle things, it's got all the information.
They're not your figures?
No,
oh, I thought you said you'd been standing there and doing
it's the figures. I went through all the information that was sent to the planning, and it's on the figures on there. And if you break it down, it comes out as 4, because there's 3 different types of class SUV. There's 2-wheelers, 4-wheelers.
There's a bus and HGV, or
there isn't a bus?
No, there's one bus once a day. I've read that somewhere.
There's class of PS3, and it's only got 2 axles.
I don't know how heavy. Anyway, the traffic cumulatively is a problem. The smell, I haven't got a clue. And what happens if there is a big smell? I mean, are there fines? Yes. Do they correct it? I mean, I've been past the one on the A on the way to Baldock, and I've opened my windows a couple of times. I can't smell anything.
It's not always working, Douglas.
Oh, right. I'll think about that. And it is an agricultural site.
Yes.
Okay. Have you, at this stage, anything, regardless of the vote that we come to, is there any comments you'd like to put that we send forward to South Cambs, whatever the outcome of our vote?
Yes. I just want to say that whatever happens, the developer should be responsible for a path, a footpath, between the Meldreth Gatehouse and Shepreth Gatehouse and Meldreth Village, because if you're going up there, well, yesterday I witnessed when I was coming up there was a family on bikes, 2 adults and 2 children, and then a car came around the corner and the car went the other way and they went everywhere, and there was nowhere to go. But that was just while I was there that minute. And I'm sure that happens, and I'm sure if there's going to be a development, the very first thing they should do would be make a proper path. It doesn't have to be a bike path, but a path that the bike could go to if necessary. Because of the bends in the road, you just can't get out of the way. And as Susan says, there's loads of people use it to go to the station, on bikes and walking and whatever else. And
I think we're all agreed on that.
You must be. There's no other way out of it.
Jimmy,
I'm just against it because of the village.
But in terms of the comment that we put forward,
yeah, you put a comment regarding the footpath, but at the end of the day, the comments which come from the village, it's we are the Parish Council for the village. The village doesn't really particularly want it, and I've looked into all the aspects of the headings, and I've found faults in every one, so my vote would be a no on all of it.
Okay. Ruth, have you anything to add on comments?
Only as we discussed earlier, the footpath and maybe some sort of warning lights when vehicles are exiting the site. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think the limit should be reduced from 60. It's very fast road. And also, where possible, maybe trim some trees, because if you can improve the sight lines, it's got to be good. Yeah, but if they can push it from this angle.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, the traffic survey does slightly gloss over pedestrian access. It talks in 3.20 about you can walk along the grass at the side, it's not that far, and yet on 4.31 it does mention employees walking to the plant. from the train station, so to a certain extent that's slightly contradictory. There's only a couple of lines on each. The other thing for me in terms of traffic is 4.59 talks about a route to the A10 is 1.25 miles away. Now, just looking briefly, that would be quickly through Melrose or very quickly through Shepreth. While there might be an undertaking at this stage in the traffic survey not to go through Shepreth, there is no legal obligation to continue that in the future, i.e. the still Frog End, because there are no actual limits apart from Mill Bridge. So while that might be undertaking of the company at the moment, as I say, there's no legal obligation to stick to that. I don't know if the licence is granted on that basis, but that might be more related to the HGV side. So again, I feel that that's slightly weak.
So do you think we should make that conditional?
Well, that's really what I'm leading, is that I think we need to look forward that there is
traffic on 1198.
Well,
like in most, which
the next problem is it's got to go through somewhere, so all we're doing is bouncing the same problem around.
And there's a SUV driver myself, and they said to me, come up that side.
Yeah, but on the basis you're looking after Shepherd.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, we can only do
as opposed to
speak for, but I'm conscious that if it's not in Shepherd, it's got to go somewhere, and there's nowhere that's obviously more suitable. So those two things are sort of connected and concerned. So it fitting in with the pavement and some form of traffic calming or speed limit if it goes through. Anybody got anything else to say at this point on the table?
No, I'd ask the others here to say if they want anything else to say towards the final points. Let them have their say.
We don't need to, but we will. Yeah, close briefly. If anybody's got any final points that haven't been discussed, or just as short as, please. Tom.
I just say that Jimmy's point about 4 HGVs, if I heard that right, that just isn't correct. I'm looking at the data now, and basically HGVs are anything over class 4, so class 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just class 4 alone is roughly 50 on each way, about 100.
Well, you've got it broke down to single axle, double axle and tri-axle.
Yes, but they're still HGVs.
No.
Well, they are.
Technically on a licence, yes, but it's the axles.
Right, well,
what you've got to worry about, it's the axle weight.
Council considers them HGVs.
Well, yeah, I mean, class 1s, which are Arctics, which are HGVs. The other ones are baby benders and buggies, which is the same. I mean, some of the single axle vehicles is the same as a Range Rover or something like that. You know what I mean? So I went through all your paperwork, and that was the numbers I come up between 6 and 9, 12 and 13, and 16 and 18.
If you exclude class 4, which are 2-axle truck or bus, which with this piece of paper is a heavy vehicle, then it probably is around 15 a day. But including class 4, which is a bus and the 2-axle HGVs, it's 115 or whatever I said.
We've only got one bus a day.
Jimmy, I didn't do the survey. I mean, you know, the survey is taken as read, basically.
Can I just say something off the record?
Well, now it's on the record, Jimmy.
Well, if you look at your paperwork, yeah, how many cars went past there in a certain time, like hour-wise, on a certain day, at certain hours, it had a certain number of cars.
Yeah.
I live on Station Road. I don't sleep a lot, and I watch the cars coming along the street, and I count them to see how many come along Station Road, and they turn right. I corresponded that with the traffic survey, and it didn't add up.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Anybody else quickly? Teresa?
Smell issues.
Fine. We have talked about that. It's fine. Go on.
So what's going to happen about them? We're just going to be expected to go in our houses and stay with all the windows shut if the wind happens to be blowing in the wrong direction.
Okay.
I mean, the survey for the wind direction, you'd be able to answer that more easily than I would, but it's flawed.
Okay.
There's two things. One, I don't think people come here tonight expecting to come up with conditions for the developer should this go through. So I don't feel that we're going to have a full list that is going to cause all our concerns. Going back to what I said previously about the traffic and this is a local planning's decision, not for here, but there should be a contribution to developments on the road network from this development. Okay. They shouldn't be required to pay for a new junction or a new set of traffic lights, but they should be contributing it based on their addition to it. I do think there isn't going to be a full list here. I think if we go ahead and put a truncated list that's been thought up on the spot, we're going to be missing things.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, we can. Alright, okay. Anybody else? Susan, did you want to speak?
Only one thing that I've written down was the same passage that you quoted from 3.20. Talks about the walking route from the station. And I believe the wording is the walking route has a paved footway, and the remainder is a grass verge is quote-unquote available. But the grass verge is entirely within a 60-mile-per-hour stretch. And I really think I really think it needs to be emphasized that the most dangerous area for walking is in the national speed limit area, and that really does need to be pointed out. That's all.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. We'll go to the vote. Very simple. I'll ask all those in favour. Raise your hand if you are. I'll ask all those against. Raise your hand if you are, and then any abstainers. Raise your hand. So, anybody in favour of the development, please raise your hand. Anybody against? Any abstainers? Marvellous. I don't know what the technicalities are.
You get an extra vote.
I get an extra vote. On that basis then, it's a no from me. So, just check. Yeah. So it's the rule. 2 weeks. Ladies, have you got any idea on what we do this?
We need to just write it down as comprehensively as possible.
Right. It's also video, so how do you record the vote? Yeah. I think that's all to do. Okay, we have something. I'm not sure what it is. What we'll do, we'll talk to the electoral services about it.
Well, they can accept
pass this forward.
No, it's not. Chairman gets an extra vote.
Well, we're not sure. It's probably, but we're not sure. Well, we're going to try and get it right.
This thing about training.
It's either
On the planning committee, the chairman would get the additional casting vote.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to go with that, put my name to that. Yeah. So that's a no, so that's why it's just put my name down in the north. Right, we'll do that. Thank you very much.